Well, joining us now, Carol Malouf. She's journalist and founder of political communications consultants, the Macarlea Advisory Group. Thank you for being with us from the Lebanese capital. What's the mood in Beirut right now?
Well, people were quite scared last night after the news came out from Syria that Israel has actually hit 3 targets in one. First, they've attacked Hezbollah. They've attacked the Iranian Revolutionary Guard on Syrian soil. So this comes as escalations rise in Syria between, Hezbollah is currently supporting the Syrian regime. So our northern border is quite tense, and people were worried that the southern border with Israel would actually be as tense. So the mood was, people were quite scared. However, sources in Hezbollah or close to Hezbollah have come out yesterday saying that there will be no retaliation, or there won't be a quick response from the Lebanese border against Israel, but that they will be retaliating in the future in their own way, as they always say.
All right, so no quick response. We'll pick up on that in a moment. But first of all, what are the theories? Why the attack?
First, as I've said, we know that the Hezbollah are the allies of the Syrian regime, the Bashar regime, and the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, who are also overseeing most of the operations in Syria and in Iraq as well. So there was stretching the Lebanese border, the Hezbollah border from southern Lebanon to the Golan Heights is definitely of major concern to the Israelis. So, and we know that the Golan Heights border between Syria and Israel was quiet for 40 years since the armistice agreement of 1973. So movement on that front might come as a surprise to Israel. And maybe also Israel was, there's a lot of talk about, infiltration and spies within the Hezbollah ranks. A few months ago, there was a guy in the name of Shawraba. He's a senior commander in Hezbollah who was accused of spying for Israel. So now I think that Hezbollah are looking inside their ranks to find where the infiltrators are, who are their spies, and there's a lot of talk of like spies in the most senior level. So that was quite a blow to Hezbollah and their allies in Syria last night by the Israelis.
All right, talk of an infiltrator. And of course, there's an important variable in all this, Carol Malouf. UN peacekeepers are no longer in the Golan Heights. After they found themselves briefly hostages, they pulled out. That means there isn't a buffer zone like there are with blue helmets in South Lebanon.
That's true, and the whole Golan Heights that was, we've heard a lot of reports coming out that Jabhat al-Nusra, which is the Al-Qaeda affiliate fighting in Syria, as you've mentioned, have taken the UN peacekeepers in the Golan Heights as hostages. So they've withdrawn now, and it's kind of probably open borders, if it's correct to say that there is no buffer zone. So Hezbollah and the Iranians could be planning a direct threat to Israel. But we know today that Hezbollah is a trans-border and a transnational organization. So there's a lot of talk about retaliation, not necessarily at the borders with Israel, either from Lebanon or from Syria, but it could be done through sleeper cells like the ones we've seen in Bulgaria, or as you've been mentioning earlier, the 1994 Argentina bombing that was traced back to Iranians, but never proven that Hezbollah had a hand in it. So there is a lot of talk that Hezbollah do have sleeper cells and that they might be activated in retaliation, and not necessarily a full blown out war from the borders on the Golan Heights or in southern Lebanon with Israel in direct confrontation.
Also, there are claims of longer-range weapons. How founded are these claims, and would Hezbollah use them?
This came out when the Secretary General of Hezbollah, Sheikh Hassan Nasrallah, came out earlier this week. He he kind of played the role of being, the regional protector of Lebanon and the region. And he very much brought Israel into the equation, because over the last 4 years, everybody was talking about Hezbollah's involvement in Syria against the Islamist groups. And he brought back the Israeli element to the equation, to the whole Middle East scene. And he said that they have more than 100 Fajr rockets, which are long-range missiles. And that was only earlier this week. So this comes from him personally as a threat to the Israelis. So the people here and analysts are saying that might have been, a reaction by the Israelis saying, we are still very much in the game, we are still there, and we are still your enemies. So while Hezbollah is busy with the Islamists in Syria, they still have their southern enemy to worry about. And I have to say, they have cultivated quite a lot of enemies over the last few years.
And there's, of course, one more variable which we have to mention. There's a snap election being prepared right now in Israel. How do the Lebanese feel whenever there's a campaign going on in Israel?
There's always this. There was the 1996 bombing, the Grapes of Wrath, as it was called, under Shimon Peres, and that Israel was still occupying Lebanon, southern Lebanon by then. And a lot of people pinned it to the, to raise their popularity in the Israeli polls prior to elections. There's a lot of talk about also it happened under Ehud Olmert in the 2006 as well, war, where his popularity was quite low. There is a lot of analysis out there and talk about that, as you have mentioned, that whenever there are polls coming out, the Israelis need to show some force. And usually it's their weakest. Lebanon happens to be the weakest link in the region, so there's always Hezbollah there or Hamas. So we've seen that a lot of wars have been waged over the last couple of years with Hamas, and we've also seen that the Israelis have bombed specific targets inside Syria related to Hezbollah. So I would not be surprised that in a show of force Netanyahu used this. But also what we need to bear in mind that the intelligence gathered by the Israelis for this attack is quite significant and interesting to look at in the future of how this happened and how did they know that such senior commanders of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard and Hezbollah were present, and Macarlea's son was with them. Because this is a special unit called Al-Radwan unit, which is named after Macarlea Senior, Imad Macarlea, the current Jihad Macarlea's father, who was killed yesterday. So there is a lot of significance in what happened, and it will be unraveled in the next few days, I'm sure.
Carol Malouf, I want to thank you for joining us from Beirut. Carol Malouf of the Macarlea Advisory Group.